Most people don't dream big. They don't dream in color. They don't even understand what the word means.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of Come Clean Podcast. This is your host, Peter O. Estevez. And we have none other than May the Force be with you. Forbes Riley. Welcome to Come Clean Podcast. Happy to have you.
Happy to have you too. It's nice to see you. I love your environment, by the way. It's a great space.
Thank you so much. This is my escape, my getaway. Forbes is an actress, a TV host, a former stand-up comedian, an inventor, an author, a motivational speaker, a magic coach, an advocate, a cheerleader, and an author.
What all of this? I'm also the creator of this, but you don't have one yet. You need one of these.
I don't have.
Oh, dude, everyone needs to have one of these. Okay, what you were gonna say? What haven't I done? Was that the question?
What have you not done, Forbes?
You know what? World domination. That's what I haven't done yet. Well, I've done a lot of things. And now it's not about what I haven't done. It's about how I can affect the people who haven't done things in their lives.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. That is an incredible statement. And that is something that is very dear to my heart. As you and I talked before before we hit record, I am committed to empowering, identifying, developing, and empowering 100 million people by 2028. And it's a mission and a passion that I'm very committed to. And I love when people talk about that because I'm at a stage in my life where it's about legacy building, not about my ego or about anything else, but how do I give back and how do I live a memorable memory about me? And you already have done that. You have done that through the years, through television, through your inventions, through your coaching. What's next?
Well, I love when people say that. First of all, you didn't know what this was. This has been out for 12 years. This is my heart and my baby. It's called a spin gym. It is the reason I have sexy arms at my age. It is the reason I've got Pedro, who has no arms and no legs. He is working out. I've got Matt Gray in a wheelchair. He is working out. And so what is next? What is next is what's always been next. It's just a new day. It is elevating my sensibility now out to the world. My chronology has been interesting. I played small for a very long time. And I have very big dreams. So I was a little girl who had a broken nose and frizzy hair and braces and was weirdly smart. What that meant was I hung out with the principal Kilroy and did linguistics in second grade, built a computer with my dad when I was in fourth grade. Really strange to stand up there and show a schematic. I pretty much go, it's my idea. I'm 8 years old. And then I ended up with braces for 8 years and I was really thinking my hair, I talked funny. And then my dad had a horrific accident when I was a teenager and spent 3 years in the hospital. And so I learned a lot of lessons, really crappy to go through those, by the way. But about how to, what it means to be broke and hungry and seeing your dad every night in a hospital, just very strange, unlike a lot of other kids. And I dreamed a lot. And my dreams started to come true. And they've come true throughout the years. And it's not until I got to this stage where I look back and go, wow, that you dreamed all of that. I dreamed I could be James Bond. Well, I did. And I got to ski at mountains around the world. And I have without any money. That's the important thing to know here, is that nobody financed any of this. And most of it was done on talent and will and perseverance, period. And some of the strangest reasons that I would do things. And it's what I kind of like about me looking back. I was doing a Broadway show where I had to go to Overeaters Anonymous because I was overweight and I was unhappy and I took myself on vacation. And by the way, I'm such a loner that I never thought to ever take anybody else. I've always gone on my own. I went to Europe on my own for 6 months, never fazed me. I knew I was a little odd that way, but I didn't talk to people well. I had a different kind of intellect. So I'm at Club Med. And I have all these little dreams and I would kind of have this conversation with myself, going, oh, what's next? And one of them was to be on Broadway, but I can't sing. And not a joke, please don't tell me that I can, I just tell you. But I'm a great dancer, even though my thighs were a little big, really good dancer and great stage presence. And I go down to Club Med and I discover that the people at the club are the entertainers in the evening. And what they do, like the tennis team and the bakery team, get up there and they lip sync musicals. So you don't have to be that talented. And back then it was a record on a record player. And they were doing a chorus line. And this was one of my little sub fantasies, was this one character called The Music in the Mirror. And I'm like, I've always wanted to do that, but I knew I never would on Broadway because I don't sing. Well, she's lip syncing. And I'm watching this, I'm thinking, I'm going to do that. And I went to the head of the Club Med. I said, I want to do that. He said, well, you don't work for us. I said, I don't care. I want to do that. And I wasn't joking. That's what I'm going to do. About 800 people. And I come to find out that you can be an au pair at Club Med where you can trade services for being able to stay there. But then he said, we don't have any available at this club. I'm in Ixtapa, which is the bottom of Mexico. And so I looked and found another club that was Cancun. How do I get there? And I think I kind of told you the story. I got my little butt on a bus, went north to the Yucatan and left, and I ended up at Cancun, sick as a dog, Mexican water, shame on us. And I knocked on their door and said, hey guys, I want to teach dancing in exchange to stay at your club and do your shows. And they're like, okay, come on in. So I stayed there for a couple of weeks. Now, this is not a business plan you find somewhere. There's nobody telling me what I can and cannot do. And then I went home to New York, and the Club Med main office was there. And I had all these theories. Now, a lot of us have ideas about things, like you have an idea about how Clubhouse should be run or how this should be done. Well, I did too. I said, Club Med is not doing it right. They're a French-owned company. The humor wasn't right. And so I literally went to the office on the 26th floor, and I knocked on their, and there's a receptionist. I said, I need to speak to the guy in charge of your entertainment. She said, oh, you mean John Shelley? I said, yes, John Shelley. And she said, well, do you have an appointment? I said, no. I said, but he's going to want to see me. I know you. So the next time I'm sitting in John Shelley's office and he's a little confused, like, well, can I help you? I said, no, but I think I can help you. I said, I'm an entertainer. I just spent 2 weeks at your different clubs. And here's the issues that I see. Why would I? I'm 26 years old. Okay. And I start to tell him these things. And he had a very interesting look on his face. And he said, how long can you go for? I said, go where? He said, well, funny that you should talk about all this, but there's a guy, our chief of entertainment in Hermosillo on the West Coast isn't doing very well on a microphone. I said, I can go for 3 weeks. He said, great. Here's your ticket. And then, now this is also, again, about seeing white space. And I think I got this from my dad, who was an inventor. Inventors see what's not there. You all see what's here. My dad would go, well, but you could do it that way. Well, that's where my brain goes. What's the white space? And I had another one of my, I'm calling them now sub-fantasies, was to be a game show host. Why? Who knows why? Who cares why? At 18, I actually was on the $20,000 pyramid. You can watch that videotape. I love game shows. And so I said to myself, now, again, this incorporates all of my principles. I didn't ask anybody's permission, and I didn't actually even talk to a mentor. I had nobody to talk to. So I sat myself down and figured it out. Now, I said, it's a funny thing, because between 4 and 6 at night, Club Med doesn't do anything. All the sports end at 4, dinner starts at 6 or 6:30. There's this window, and there's usually people mulling around trying to figure out what to do. I said, I wonder if we could do a game show in there. And then I said, well, now here's the cool thing about Club Med. They already have an audience, about 800 people. They have set designers and lighting designers and costume designers. And so when I got there, I future paced and said, guys, I'm here from New York. I'm going to be working on the microphone, but every night of the week, Monday through Friday, we're going to do a game show. I want you to create the sets for the dating game with the big heart, Hollywood Squares. I want Family Feud. I want Price is Right, and the Newlywed Game. And they said, okay. I said, here's the sketches that I figured out. They built those in a day or two. That's what they would do. And the next thing you know, and it's funny how I know what year this was, because the center square in Hollywood Squares was Crockett and Tubbs from Miami Vice. This is going back a ways, right?
Sure.
And I would grab the microphone and, hey, everybody, it's 4 o'clock. Welcome to the game show. It's the Forbes'd round. Here we are. And we did a game show every night. I did that for like 3 or 4 weeks. The head of Club Med comes down to find out what's going on at their club. Who is this? And what is she doing? Nobody ever stopped me. He came down, he offered me a full-time position, which I did not want to do. He said, but anytime you want, you have carte blanche to go to any club and do what you want. I'm in my 20s. I just got handed a ticket on a charter plane to Turks and Caicos, to Punta Cana, to Bahamas. Anytime as an actress that I wasn't working in New York, I would go, hello. They're like, oh, where do you want to go? I'm like, how's Punta Cana? Great, done. That was my life, okay? Now I don't know how you recreate that. And then I said, what's next on the James Bond bucket list? I've never called it that before, the James Bond bucket list. The next thing was to go skiing. Again, I don't have any money, but skiing looked really cool. From the outside, this little poor kid's going, how do you go skiing? As soon as I said that, and I'm a huge fan of manifesting so much that I have an entire brand about it called Forbes'ing it. What have you Forbes lately? I have hats and t-shirts called Forbes'd. I said, I want to go skiing. The angel said, okay. I open up the newspaper, and there's an ad for a thing called Ski View. I didn't really understand what they were doing, but apparently they bought the space at lift towers to put billboards. Clever idea, right? You're sitting on a lift tower and you see billboard after billboard, like Lipton Tea, Jose Cuervo Tequila, Folgers Coffee. They wanted a bar party. They didn't really know what they wanted. I didn't really know what they wanted either. But at 4 o'clock, funny 4 o'clock, skiing stops, drinking starts, dinner hasn't happened. Seems a lot like what I did at Club Med, right?
Yes.
So I know, kind of funny. They interview a lot of people. They interviewed me and this other guy. And the first question they said is, do you ski? Which I already knew the answer before I walked in the door. Of course I do. I've never skied. But the answer is, of course I do. I said, okay, great. And we kept going. Then he says, great. Can you come to the office and design this? And the job is yours. It starts in about 3 weeks. I better go learn how to ski. There was a Club Med at Copper Mountain in California, which is no longer there. Colorado. And I booked myself 2 weeks there. Again, I didn't even pay for that either. Hello, yeah, I want to go to Copper Mountain. Great, come on over. 2 weeks, I put my head down. I learned how to ski. And by the time the job started, I was a pretty good small blue diamond skier, just enough to go out with the clients. I did that job for 10 years.
Wow.
Every winter. Now get this, every winter I skied from Monday to Friday. I only worked on Saturdays. And I toured all around the country. And I've been to Angel Fire, New Mexico, and I went to Loon, New Hampshire. I've been everywhere. It was just an idea in my head. Now, here's the kicker to this whole thing. At some point, the little progressive girl inside of me is like, what are you doing? You're doing stand-up comedy at ski resort and doing these games, but nobody knows you're here. You're in the middle of nowhere.
Wait, because I want to comment something at you. I want to ask the question before you even say it. Okay, I want to ask the question before you even say it. And I'm sorry to interrupt you because I want to.
No. Come on.
I want to dissect a couple of things that you said. Manifest. Okay, see the things that are not there. Okay, white spaces. Okay, why is that important? Because most people don't see that. So tell me more about that. Tell me more about that.
I'm glad that most people don't see the white space, so that it'll all be cluttered with people. But the manifesting thing is accessible to all of us. Now, and it's so much so we call it Forbesing it. What have you Forbes lately? Which means to manifest it, especially when no one else thinks it's possible. So I ask people all the time about your belief, and I have very firm philosophies on belief. In the middle of that word is what? L-I-E. It's a lie. You're telling yourself a lie, and so am I. It's a lie about your past. Who knows what really happened? You make up stories. I don't know your parents were really like that. Neither do you. You were little at the time. And when you're little, things look different anyway. So, but somehow most of us let a 4-year-old drive our bus because we think we remember something way back when. In fact, what we do remember is not what happened. We remember the decision that we made about it. And that usually adversely affects our life. Because that decision is that kind of the hard drive. It's the core principle of your life. And I've done a lot of this, and you'll see it's magnificent when you ask somebody, and they go, oh yeah, that's how I run my life. My dad was a horrible person. I've always had this thing about men that I don't trust. Or sometimes it's positive, maybe 5% is positive. I got to say 95% is some negative thing. And the reason that is that we tend to store things in our brain when there's a trauma involved. Trauma can be good or bad.
Sure.
But mostly it's bad.
Sure.
And so when something traumatic and your neurons light up, those are the things that we hold on to. And we hold on to the point that most people, it destroys them. And I've done a lot of work in that category. So this lie, right? Well, what do you believe? Do you believe in gravity, Peter?
Absolutely.
Why? Because you've seen, can you see it?
No.
But you've seen it kind of work, right? Watch.
Sure.
Okay, so it works. So you think it must be there.
Sure.
I don't.
Just like I don't see electricity, but I believe in electricity.
Right. So same thing with manifesting. And I remember when The Secret first came out and I read this and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then you realize that you think of somebody and the phone rings and it's them, or you do something. And there's things that are, if you stop the busyness of your life and watch, you're like, there's some kind of cool things that are happening. I think of something and it's there. Now, in fact, if you look around your entire place there, you actually manifested all of those things. You put that bust there, but people don't realize you created your environment to reflect certain thing about you. If your environment is full of things, perhaps your head is full of things. If it's beautiful, and there's all kinds of psychology. And so not everybody sees the white space, and that's good because then you need people to work for the white spacers, but you can dream. Dreaming is free. And Peter, in my experience now of doing this work for maybe 20 some odd years, most people don't dream big. They don't dream in color. They don't even understand what the word means. I'll ask them what they want. What do you do? Oh, I dream of finishing my book. Really? See, the dream should be, I dream of my book being a New York Times bestseller and finishing it as part of the action plan.
Sure.
But we're not taught this. You know, my kids, I'm lucky enough to have two beautiful, they just turned 18, who went through the school system, sometimes private, sometimes public, and schools suck. You know what they do? They make employees. And they're very clear about that. They, in fact, so much so they actually help you make a resume. And my daughter, who's been doing digital marketing since she was 12 years old, has traveled the world with me. And at some point by 14, 15, teacher calls me in and said, there seems to be a problem here. Your daughter is quite disruptive. I said, what's going on? She said, well, we're learning how to do resumes. And she doesn't want to do one. I said, well, why don't you want to do one? She's like, because I'm never going to work for anybody. They're going to work for me. I said, what's the problem? She said, no, she's got to get a job after school. And I said, McKenna, you're what, 14 years old? How much money did you earn? Oh, you earned $60,000 last year? How much do you earn? My poor McKenna is like, Mom, could you just knock it off? I'm like, let me get my point across here. In the last 6 months, that little girl who hasn't graduated yet has earned $352,000.
For you, you want to hear a quick story? I'm going to interrupt you for a second because
no, go ahead.
It piggybacks on what you just finished. You know where my son grew up?
No.
My son grew up in a boardroom in a private plane. Okay, doing homeschooling. Okay, when he was in the 8th grade, I picked him up from school one day. He was heartbroken and he was crying. And I said, "What's wrong?" He says, "I hate school. The classrooms are boring and the teachers are frustrated." Just to your point, just to support your point. I get it. I completely get it. And unfortunately, we began to see more. The children in those desks have an iPhone that has more information than those teachers ever learn in school.
Well, you and I probably really won't live long enough to see a shift that may or may not happen, but classrooms are the only thing that has not changed with time. And then COVID hit, and COVID just opened up a whole new world for us about how people can learn. It also opened up a whole devastating world for kids who are stuck in their homes with abusive parents. And one of the problems that I see is, you and I get a chance to do good in the world, is that kids are only 10% of our population, but they're 100% of our future. And the problem is, when your kids are older, you don't think about them being in school. That's why politicians don't focus on kids, because their kids aren't in school anymore. And they don't really think it, and that's a bit of an issue. And so hopefully kids like my daughter, who at 18 are really working on changing some of those systems, and we care about to change it. But it'll be interesting to see how the majority of the world shifts and adapts to this new world. My daughter said, Mom, people always say, oh, you 18-year-old, you think you know everything. She's like, Mom, here's my cell phone. Give me 5 minutes, I'll find anything that you want.
Absolutely. When did Francine Kadish become Forbes?
I can tell you exactly when that happened. So what you're talking about is I was born with one name, and actually names are important to me. In the Hispanic culture, names are so important to you guys that you have like 18 of them. And so of this and that, which I think is very nice. So in my culture,
it's Juan, Martinez, Garcia, tacos, right, enchiladas, and a Coke.
Which I love. I think that honors culture and history, which we don't do in a lot of places. In my culture, if you're the oldest girl, you get your mother's maiden name to carry it on. That's where Kadish comes from. And Forbes, which is the last name I was born with, is actually my grandmother's idea. In the 40s, she could not get my uncle into college with the last name of Feinstein. So she opened up the phone book and said, your new name is Bam. So I come from a long line of disruptors. And then Francine was a name that my mom just loved. It was her aunt, and it was a very special name to her, and I love that name. I'm Francine and Georgine, that's my sister's name. I loved it. I started in movies. I started in soap operas. One day, I'm living with a wonderful man. He's a former Notre Dame football player, 6'6", big guy. We're falling in love. I break my knee at one of these ski resorts, and he loses a political election by that much. He was so ready to change the world. And we are squatting in my dear friend's multi-million-dollar mansion in a squat dude in style. And I'd hit a bottom. I was in pain all the time. I was 31 years old. My knee was killing me. And someone said, you should go to an image consultant. And his name is Hank Behrens. He's $75 for the hour. And back then, that was a lot of money. And I begrudgingly sent him my photos. And he said, send me my pictures. And I showed up in a white t-shirt, white shorts, and no makeup, and a knee brace. And he meets me at the door, and he's this wiry-haired little black man who looks up at me from what I thought was like a Keebler cookie hut. He's like, huh? He said, don't ever leave the house without makeup on. He said, yeah, no, you're not beautiful like Julia Roberts. You're not natural, but you're a star, but you're more like Sharon Stone. And I'm like, excuse me? He brings me into his house, and he proceeds to tell me all the things that I'm doing wrong. Number one, your hair is too dark. You should get, and he said, grab a pen, and I'm writing things down. You need to get your hair cut and colored. You need to know what color jewelry, silver. You need to, by the way, it's funny, I'm wearing brown today. He said, black's not your color. And all these things, I'm like, you haven't told me anything except what I should go hire other people for, and that you don't like anything about me, but you like my essence. And I'm listening, and I'm hating every minute of this. And then he says, and I don't like your name. And I'm like, dude, I don't like anything about you. I didn't say that, of course, but I'm like, okay, what? He said, yeah, Francine, it's an old name. I'm like, now you're stepping on my mom's toes. Back off here, buddy. He said, no. What street did you grow up on? What's your dog's name? I'm like, Snoopy Arrow. That's not even a good porn name. And then he says, tell me, boyfriend. I said, I'm living with a guy named Tom Riley. And then he says, that's it. Forbes Riley, now leave. I'm on the other side of the door and I'm pissed off. And I'm like, I wasted my money. If I go home to Tom Riley, who's 26 at the time, and I'm like, this was
Are you
terrible.
married at this time?
No, we're living together. We're not married. No.
Okay, he's a boyfriend.
Yeah, he's a live-in boyfriend. And I say, look, this guy told me, he said I should he doesn't like my hair. And Tom says, well, it's a little big and bushy. He said, he thinks my eyes are too dark and my lips are too red. He said, I told you that a while ago. He said I should wear brown and these earth colors. And he's like, well, you got a cute little figure and you always wear these big bouncy clothes. I said, you know what, dude? He thinks my name should be Forbes Riley. We're not married yet. Forbes Riley. And you know what Tom says to me? He says, that's exactly who you are.
Really?
I think I called them both assholes. I said, that's ridiculous. That is just, it's the name of a law. It's not even a name. Think about it. And so I did. So here's the moment that changed everything in my life. Well, I've had a lot of those, but this one, I said, all right, you know what? Out of spite, which sometimes serves me well, I'm going to do everything this guy said on the list. And I got the haircut and highlighted, and I did the makeup differently, and I found out the colors that work. And then I changed my name. And now I'm sitting in a classroom with a casting director because I'm still acting in movies and TV. I'm wearing an olive green, one-sided jacket thing. My makeup and hair is all different. And I've got a little headshot that says Forbes Riley. And I'm like this. Somebody in the back, this is where the angels come in, says, what did you wear to an audition? Casting director looks at me and she says, what's your name? I'm like, Forbes Riley. What's your name? I'm like, Forbes Riley. I said, oh, pretty cool name, stand up. Okay. She said, see what she's wearing? It's all put together, looks great. Come here. And I did a scene from Body Heat, a very sexy scene. Next day, she cast me as a lead in a TV series.
Wow.
That was about 30 years ago. Every single day, somebody asked me about my name. And Forbes Riley is a woman who is on a mission. She's powerful. The crazy thing is because of whatever circumstances, I'm no longer with Tom Riley after 29 years. He's the father of my kids and we're business partners and friends. And very much in love with someone else who would love me to take his last name. His last name is Self. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm like, how can I be a self? It's like the ultimate selfie, dude. But I will tell you something that I talked about yesterday on Clubhouse about masculine and feminine energy. And so people say, Forbes, you're a bit of an alpha female, or you're a bitch. We can't decide which. No, I'm a woman who knows what she wants, and I no longer want to play small. And I've done that a lot in my life, but in a relationship that's dangerous. So what I did wrong with Tom is he's a big guy, and we raised a little boy who was murdered after 12 years, and Tom took that really hard. And he went and he kind of helped raise the twins while I kept working, which was a fascinating idea. He's a chef, he's a great cook, and he loves his kids. But I would come home from a hard day of slaying the dragon, and I would tell him how much I did this, and I did that, and I did this. And he'd go, great, dinner's on the table, babies need a bath, and I'm like, oh, great. So we do all that. I'm like, hey, buddy, let's go in the bedroom. He's like, oh, I can't, I got laundry to do. And I lost a little bit of respect for this big, powerful man.
Well, sure.
Okay. I didn't know all this was going on at the time. Then I would come home like I slayed the dragon, and he was 6'6" would go blah, 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 and we would fight. You know what I didn't do? I didn't come home as the woman. I didn't come home in my feminine energy, which we both have both sides, but very rarely I didn't know there was a difference. And I never said, hey, how can I help you? What can I do? And my love of my life now, if you've seen a photo of him, Joshua is a 3-time world champion physique fitness model. Again, I got a thing for big, powerful men. Tom was 6'6". Joshua is like seriously buff because I'm looking for this.
But you still carry the power. You still carry the presence.
Oh, no, well, no, hang on a second. It's not out in the world. It's when I come home. He asks me to leave Forbes Riley at the door and come into our relationship with Francine because he wants his little girl. He wants to be the guy. And I'll tell you what, I love it. I love it.
I love that. I love that. What an incredible story. But most importantly, what an incredible lesson. Let's unpack a couple of things that you said. When you met this image consultant, he gave you a laundry list, including changing your name. And you did everything. What is the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs and people that go out and hire coaches or mentors or whatever that are seeking transformation do?
Well, let me start with not all mentors and coaches are created equal. And that's a problem that I have. So
Fair.
you have to be very,
Sure.
I would really do your due diligence.
Sure.
Like when I love when these 22-year-olds go, well, I'm a life coach. I'm like, really? Call me when you get a life. But let's assume it's a good coach. Here's the biggest thing I do, and I love that you asked that, Peter. You are very intuitive. I make you write on the top when you train with me the word surrender. I do not need you to give up, but I need you to give into the process that while you're working with me, this is the only way. And so the biggest mistake that you make is you go in thinking that you know better. So I learned this lesson the hard way. I am a martial artist. I got mugged when I in the early 80s in New York City. Ended up in a dojo afterwards, kicking and punching all kinds of things, Taekwondo, Wing Chun, and Aikido. And I got very high up. I got a black belt in Taekwondo, and I could kick at some point. I can't do that now. But what you learn when you train really hard is that black belt, which signifies that you're now a teacher, you're a master of something. You do it enough, it starts to fray and become white again. And this is the old ancient lesson that any student and teacher needs to learn. When you are the teacher, teach. When you are the student, learn. And you can be both at all times. I'm always learning. I'm always taking off my teacher hat and saying, and I don't come with a full cup going, I know better. My cup is probably half full because I think I do know stuff. But you're better off to empty, because if it's full of water, if it's full, no one can ever pour into you something that you don't already know. And so to always be a student, to be learning. And by the way, just like this is why I think marriage doesn't work either, is that I don't think you can expect one human to be everything for you.
Absolutely.
It's hard.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. But same thing with a coach. You are a coach for this time, this reason, this seed. You're not going to do everything for me. You'll do this for me, and then I'm allowed to go on. I do not recommend studying with two coaches ever at the same time, because it will confuse you. And I'll kick a student out who says to me this one sentence. Well, my other coach said, I don't care what your other coach says. I just don't, not while you're with me.
Love it. Love it. Tell us about your invention.
How about the greatest fitness product on the planet? In fact, I'm going to get something. Don't go away. I'm going to show you something.
Of course not. I'm not going anywhere.
Right here, because everybody at the very least should have one that looks like this. The diamond encrusted one is for you. I got to tell you, nobody's got a piece of fitness equipment that looks like this. So, Spin Gym. I'm actually in the National Fitness Hall of Fame. My career started quite by accident in the fitness world. I went on an audition. Pen is on the desk. The camera said, sell me this pen. I don't know anything about, okay. I thought it was a joke. I said, it's a funny thing when my mom, when I was in college, she used to write me these longhand notes, and I kept all of them like a stack like this, right? And I realized that a pen like this can reach out and touch somebody's heart. Well, Jake of Body by Jake walks out from the camera, grabs my face. You're going to make me a lot of money. I'm like, what are you talking about? What he identified has been the whole rest of my life. I have a very unique ability to disseminate how to pitch anything. And I'm not joking. What that was he created a 24-hour network called the Cable Health Club, became Fit TV. And on that, it was before QVC and HSN. He had this idea that we could sell fitness products. Okay, so it was an hour-long wheel that played 24 times a day. And the last quarter of the hour was people would come to us, and I would write the pitch and then deliver the pitch. Have you ever seen this on television?
Yes.
So it's an interesting concept. So I literally did the first 1,500 fitness products that ever came out on television. And it's kind of crazy that I did that. And we actually sold the network to Fox for $500 million. That also then led me to host the first 35 infomercials, because that's all of those people. And then I've just hosted 192, and I'm about ready to do my 193rd one, which is a fitness product. It's so exciting at my age to keep doing this. Along the journey, I got inducted into the National Fitness Hall of Fame. I had a massive, and by the way, I was always overweight. In fact, in those episodes, I had designed a jacket that kind of covered my tush a little bit because I didn't like I never had the abs, I never had the six pack. But all those little girls who did would come, and this is kind of funny. My self-esteem came from this. They'd show up looking a little bra top, and they would go, okay, so like, I'm here. So what do we got? Well, like, we're here to do like an ab machine. Like, okay, what does it do? What does it do? All right, you know what? I'll tell you what it does. You sit on the ab machine, and because you're not on, and I would tell them the features and benefits.
Right.
Well, that got to be an interesting conversation. 30, how old was I? Somewhere in my 30s. I am showing a resistance band. Resistance band had just come out by Bobby Hines, I introduced that concept to the world, and I had one on my foot to rehab my broken knee. It slips off my foot and it shatters my nose. Well, I'm glad that I have eyes and it didn't just, I know. In fact, my ex dragged me, he carried me to the hospital. His hands were bloody, my face was bloody. They separated us thinking, did he punch her?
Yeah.
And I went on a quest to find something to put my name on, and I couldn't figure it out. I knew it did not have to do with resistance bands. I'd already gone now I'm on QVC and HSN selling all kinds of products, and I didn't like anything I saw. I mean, I liked them, they were fine, but I wanted something. Now, it's funny, we talk about the law of attraction and those things. I hit my lowest point. I had the lead in a TV series, shot it for Fox, shot the pilot. They come back to me after 4 months of having it on hold, and they say, you know what? Your name isn't big enough to launch the series on.
Wow.
I said, but I'm really good at it. We know. That's why we sold the show. We're going to replace you with Bo Derek. Is she an actress? Oh, okay. And then I thought, well, I'll get the second lead. And they gave the second lead to Morgan Fairchild.
Okay.
These two women, as popular as they are beautiful and blonde and not known for their acting chops, just to say.
Sure.
By the way, the show died because it really needed a character like me. And then I'd said something to the universe. I said, look, I don't want to sell anything that I don't love anymore. Because sometimes people would have me do a product. I was like, no, I'm done. I've got to, and as soon as they did that, UK called. I'd made 48 trips to London. My brands were big in the UK, and I was flying from LA to the UK a lot, like 48 trips in 6 years. And there's a thing called a Today Special, which you go on for 24 hours and you have to sell at least $1.5 million worth of the product that day to keep it on air. And one of my friends called and said, can you do this for us? We have a product. And before I saw the product, I said, yes, I would help them out. The product shows up at my door, and it's this cheap little treadmill that I like, but I'd already committed, and I believe in the integrity of your word.
Sure.
So I get over there. It's midnight. I sell this thing, and it's just, it's horrible. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be here. I don't know what to do with my life at that moment. I know exactly where it was. And I'm probably down on my knees going, I give up. I don't get it. And if by magic or the universe or some weird movie that somebody else is watching, a guy comes in, and you know what? He's a former magician. How odd. And he's got a little silver thing that looks a little like this. And I'm like, what is that? He said, oh, it's an Orpheus. I'm like, oh. And I pulled on it and it didn't do anything. I thought, oh, that's pretty stupid. And I sat there in the green room and continued to lament my fate. He goes on TV and he sells a whole bunch of them. And I'm like, but it doesn't work. He comes back. It's just him and I in the green room. Now it's 2:00 in the morning. And I said, I don't get it. Well, I did. As soon as I got this, if you don't get it to spin, you don't feel the genius. This little thing spins at 125,000 RPM. This little thing activates every single muscle in your body. And if you get it, and as soon as I got it, I swear on all that I have, Peter, I saw a vision, like a full out mythical vision. I'm like, oh my God. I said, how do I get this? He said, well, I can give you this one. I said, no. Tell me about the company. I never had that kind of a conversation before. And he said, it's funny you should ask because I'm a corporate magician. I've only sold 100,000 of these in 5 years. I'd like to go back to what I do. You're Forbes Riley. I'm like, I know. I said, this is the greatest fitness product. He said, no, not a fit. I said, it's a fitness product. Don't you see what all the things you can do? And he's like, no, I don't see anything. I use it. No. All right. He said, look, if you can sell 25,000 in the first year, I'll give you the company, all the IP, and you give me a small percentage. I didn't know what I was doing. I said, sure. I go home. And again, now I've got no business background at all. I start planning out, but I am a Broadway dancer, licensed Pilates in fitness. And I start seeing ads, all the things you can, I write. And then again, I don't know what to do with this stuff because I'm not a business person per se. And so I put it in my pocket. I'm going to call it a spin gym. And this is funny too, because this is documented on a TV series. I ended up doing a reality show for Discovery called Pitchmen, which chronicles all of this actually. It's pretty funny. And I have it in my pocket and I know it's a spin gym. That's my entire business plan. How do you start a company? I don't know. And so I arrived there and a camera guy comes up to me and he says, hey, can you, we're doing a new TV show with Billy Mays and Anthony Sullivan. And I said, well, you've worked with them. I said, yeah. And I was literally, I'd won every award. I was like the reigning queen of that whole thing. And then this guy says to me, he said, so what are you working on now? That's funny. I've got something in my pocket. This is what I'm working on, a spin gym. He tries it. Oh my God, this is great. You should show it to those guys. I said, no, they sell soap. He said, no, they're doing a TV series. Come over here. I show it to them. They love it. Next thing I know, we're in New York with the as seen on TV guy. And the funny thing is, when we're in the room, he didn't really love it. So I went and got his secretary. I showed it to her. It's like, oh my gosh, I get it. I love it. We go and we shoot this entire thing. Big episode of the TV. Now, here's what's interesting. I don't know that reality show isn't reality. Oh, naive me. Yeah, at some point, I'm going to learn my lesson. I spent 5 months pouring my heart out. They couldn't wait for the controversial moment, and they set me up. And here's how it went. So this, I still had to do like a license fee to the guy in England, and we're going to sell it for $39.99, and then $29.99 if we had to, maybe $19, never $9.99. So we're filming, and the cue card says I was doing the commercial for the chest. It's the best. And then I said, it's guys, it says $9.99. I legally can't do that. I have an agreement. And they said, oh, no.
Hold on, pause for just a second. Something interrupted the call. Give me a second. Please continue. My apologies. Something interrupted it.
It's okay. And as long as we're still recording, that would be a shame.
Yeah.
And so I said, you're not going to ever sell this for $9.99. Now, remember, the reality cameras are all over, and they're filming this. And then they show me a plastic version. And I said, I'm not putting my name on a cheap plastic piece of crap like this for $9.99. I'm not doing it. Well, edit. And somehow, when this played all over the country, it looked like I said I would never sell anything for $9.99. That was one of a lot of things they kind of took control liberty with that I didn't say. And it didn't paint me in the very good light, which is really interesting, but it makes really good TV, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I woke up the next morning after that show aired on Discovery. Spin gym was the #1 search word in the country. Forbes Riley was #3, Googled all over the place. And a lot of people calling me a greedy bitch. I'm like, but why? Oh, well, who do you think you are that you can't sell anything for $9.99? I'm like, I didn't say that. I didn't say any of these things. And my ex-husband rolls over and he says, so what are we going to do now? I said, we're going to make spin gyms. He said, baby, nobody wants them. And I said, they're wrong. He said, they can't all be wrong. And I said, they are. That was 10 years of my life on that one sentence. I went to the FU School of Business. You know what I didn't know? I figured out. And every morning I woke up and said, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to figure, I got this. And every single day, that's all I did. You want to talk about an entrepreneur putting their nose to the grindstone? You've never seen anybody work like I did, round the clock, to make these, to finance them, to all the things that I had to do to get this out. We finally launched, and it's more of an interesting story, but finally launched on Home Shopping. Our debut show, we sold 5,000. I averaged 10,000 a day every time I went on HSN. And my biggest 24 hours was 64,000.
Wow.
In one 24-hour period. I got a check for $1.2 million. And I'm like, you know what? Let them tell me what I can and what I can't do, because I'll show you. I know what I can do. And that was the start of it.
University with a master's degree, a PhD, and a doctorate. Congratulations. What an accomplishment, and what a hell of a story. Forbes, you know what I realized as I'm listening to you? You are energy in motion. Even the spin gym.
Yeah,
you flew here, you moved there, you dance, you did Polaris. Everything is energy in motion, and that's why you attract your destiny. That's why you attract like a magnet to you. So tell me about your book. What have you done lately?
Well, okay, a couple of books. And actually, I know I had to move today because I just did a big event and they did not have green screen access, which is kind of crazy here. But I will tell you, so it turns out that books are everything. I've had a lot of books in my head, in my heart. Took me a couple of years to do a couple of them. This particular one, What Have You Forbes Lately? This is a beautiful testament. I teach classes and this is all my students who really have overcome things and just moved their life forward. Very proud of this book. Very proud that when my students do a book, they actually put me on the back cover. So that'll be very sweet. They didn't plan on that. Compilation books have been a big part of my life. I just did something fantastic, and maybe you want to be a part of this, Peter. But I ran into this gentleman, a guy named Steve, right there.
Okay.
Because he's also a lot like me. He's a Hollywood celebrity interviewer by trade, a junket guy, and he's a dreamer. So one day, he's doing like we all do between Clubhouse or LinkedIn. He finds me. We get on the phone, And he says he's created this company called onehabit.com. And he's done 1 or 2 books, compilation books. But unlike most compilation books that cost thousands to be in a chapter, because books, most people don't realize, about $25,000 to $30,000 to produce a book by the time you've edited and all the things you need to do to get a book done, or a ghostwriter. And he comes and I look at his format, and it's $400 to be in the book.
Wow.
For anybody. I know, right? That's what I said. I said, are you sure? He says, yeah. And he said, and I get a co-author. They get the people together and we co-publish the book. I've done a couple of these, but I'm looking to expand. And I said, you have 1 habit for entrepreneurial success? He says, no. I said, you want one? He said, sure. I said, I'd like to do that. Now, I've been at this point last year, this only happened as of July of last year, or August. I've been putting together a group of people and I started teaching people. I've never done, because of COVID, I now can teach over Zoom. I'd never taught so many people so fast. And I teach pitching and the things that I love to do. And through a Zoom camera, I can really get in your face. I love this. But on my Facebook group, I got a core group of people whose lives I was changing. And so they were very committed to this. I said, you know what? I said, how long does it take people to put this kind of a book together? He says, 3 or 4 months. I said, great. I'm going to do it in 24 hours. I'm going to have all 100 people in 24 hours.
Wow.
An hour later, he comes back and he shows me 2 or 3 covers. I didn't like any of those because the first one was a guy like this. I said, babe, I'm a girl. He has a girl like this. I don't like that one. He said, why about we put your face? I said, it's not about me. And then he comes back with a light bulb on a chalkboard. And I said, that is my branding. Funny, you should know that. That was like 5 hours after I talked to him. I put it on my Facebook group. By 12 hours later, we were sold out, all 100 people.
Wow.
Right. And then I said, we need some celebrities. And I went and talked to a couple of my major friends. I talked to the guy who played Hercules, Kevin Sorbo. I talked to Baz Rutten and Chuck Liddell, both MMA fighters, not typically in any of these kind of a book.
Sure.
I know. I got Gary Lockwood. Gary Lockwood stars in the 2001 A Space Odyssey. Okay. He was the original Captain Kirk in Star Trek. He's 80-something years old, an old friend of mine. He doesn't do any interviews except in this book. I got the guy who created Pictionary and Uggs. And I went after a lot of my friends. Frank Shankowitz, who just passed away, with created Make-A-Wish Foundation. They're all in this book with my 100 people. Yeah. 150 authors in a month and a half. It's an 820-page One Habit book, the largest book ever on the subject. Then, that's one. Then he comes to me and says, I got another title. I got One Habit to Thrive in a Post-COVID World. I said, you want to do the same thing? He said, yeah, I only want 100 authors this time. I said, what kind of record are we going to set now? He says, if you get me 100 authors in 24 hours, I will have the book in your hand in 18 days.
Wow.
Edited, done, 18 days from phone call to here. All right. I'm going to challenge you. The next one, One Habit for something about networking in Clubhouse. The secret to getting gold out of your connections. Want to be part of it? I haven't launched it yet. But if you go, yep, I know. If you go to onehabit.com, now this is the other thing. He's systematizing free. Now, I don't know, Peter, can you also see on your computer while you're doing a Zoom? Can you see something?
Sure.
And back, actually,
I look at it on my phone. I have my phone right here.
Yeah, but you know what? Will you give me co-host ability? I want to show everybody here just how genius.
Absolutely.
If you let me co-host, I'm going to show you something, because one of the things that I'm discovering, and Peter, you're a successful business guy. I had never really walked in this space before, but now I understand speed to market, intention, and teamwork. So now if I go here and I click on my little thing here, just you can make me host, I'll give it back to you, I promise.
You're host.
Thank you. Love you for that. So watch this.
You're welcome.
So if you say you want to be a best-selling author, because all of our books are best-selling author, I mean, literally, it's amazing. What do you see on the screen? Do you see the book? Now you see the book.
I see the book now.
Okay. So if you go there, watch what he did. That's so cool. Beautiful branding there, right? It looks very wonderful.
Yeah.
All you do when you say yes, because normally when you want a chapter, it's hard to do. No. Here's what you're going to do, Peter. You're going to fill out your name and your title. What's one habit that you would instill? Tell me right now. Let's create this. You guys are witness to Peter doing this.
Sure.
What's one habit with regard to Clubhouse that you think is important for you?
For me, to do a room 3 times a week, period.
All right. So your habit is to do a room 3 times a week. Now, why is it important? Why is it important for you?
It is important for me because I'm building community, I'm building credibility, and I'm building social validation.
Great. Now you write a couple hundred words on that, and you're also going to tie it back to who you are as a businessman. You could write that in a couple of minutes.
Sure.
What's an unhabit? What would you want someone to break?
In Clubhouse,
Yep.
To stop talking about finding a place at the table, to stop talking about finding a place on the stage. Okay, find a place on the stage by merit, by knowledge, by wisdom, by participation, by contribution, and by stage etiquette.
Okay, all of that, by the way, needs to be in this book.
Okay.
You do all of that, you fill that out. This is an example. You then say, my name is, I'm known as, what are you known as, by the way, Mr. Peter?
I'm known as an entrepreneur and an advocate for recovery, mental health, and the host of the top-rated podcast, Coming Clean.
And don't you want, there you go. And my mission is, you do all that, you give us a picture. We're actually going to send you a poster of the book that you can use for, we do a lot of work. And then you get your own web page.
I love it.
And you fill all of that. And this book, we're actually charging, I think it's $480 because you're getting all of that done. And if you can't afford it, we actually do 4 payments because we want it to be accessible to everybody. How crazy is now? Here's the code. That's done. You can do that. Right. So, and you, by the way, you're the first one in the book because I've not made this public because I only want my friends and cool people. But watch this. This is what he did so well. He created a system to make it easy for people. So these are, and by the way, at some point you could have one habit to be a successful Latina doing whatever. I mean, seriously, that's how specific, if you wanted all of the people to be in a book. My next one that I'm doing is one habit for people who've lost over 100 pounds. I want to honor my people who are rock stars. This was our big book over here, Entrepreneurial Success. This is our mission. These are the books that we've done so far. One habit to beat cancer, one habit to stop bullying. It's a great concept. We would love to take this company public. I have to tell you, it's a beautiful company. There's all of us. I got Joe Theismann in the book. I mean, these are pretty much amazing people. Les Brown is there, Sharon Lecter. I got Carrie Gordy, whose dad started Motown. And then, this is the cool part, you all get your own webpage. Now, how valuable this is? Let's see, let's go to Meet Our Authors. It's the same price. You don't have to pay any extra for this. If you go to, let's just
not only that, can you imagine the value somebody gets just by being in a Google search with all those names?
Baby, I know this. I mean, I don't look at this. So this is one of my, Anne is a photographer of mine.
Yeah.
You get to the book. Then you also get your pictures. I mean, we're giving you all this for the same price. You get all of that. Everybody gets one of these. And then it gets even better. I'll show you mine. If you have a video, we put that up there as well. I mean, this man over delivers like you've never seen before.
Incredible value. Incredible value for $480.
Paul Logan is a movie star. And by the way, there's a lot of him. He's an action hero.
Yeah.
You are now in a book with an action hero.
Yeah.
This is like, there's his movies. These are some of the books he's been in. I'm sorry, you get to, and then all your social media, the backlink possibility here is genius. So my goal here, Peter, is to reach out first to our high-level friends, get about 50 movers and shakers, and then open it up to anyone else who wants to be in the book. But it will sell out in, this will sell out in 2 hours.
I love it. I'm in. Come in. After the conversation, after I finish my appointments, I'm going to go in and do what I need to do. I am in. So tell me, where can people find you?
Right here.
Right here. For our audience in social media, where can my audience find you?
Everything is about my name. Go to ForbesRally.com, ForbesRally.club, Forbes Rally, everything. I'm on Instagram. I've got 1.8 million fans on Facebook. I love LinkedIn. I'm not a very good YouTuber. YouTube, I actually use as a storage cabinet. You want to see all about me, you could spend about 48 hours consecutively going through all these crazy videos. And you're going to see things that no one's ever seen. See, I didn't grow up with social media, so I didn't quite do it right. But you know that little girl, Kim Kardashian?
Sure.
Oh, look at her name and my name. I gave her her start in TV. You didn't know that, did you?
No, I did not know that.
No, there's a video there. I started Tybo and Billy Blanks. There's a video. You could literally spend all day watching videos. They're not in any good order. It's not really a club yet, but you know, I'm busy. I want to do what I can do. And then I also want to go love on my man, who, that's another little part of the story, because I'm sure you like to stay physically fit.
Absolutely.
Well, so Joshua, the man that I finally met, and by the way, I thought about what I wanted. I said I wanted someone who looked like he walked off the cover of a romance novel. Why not? I told you, dream big.
He's 17 years younger than you, isn't he?
Thank you for saying that. Shame on you. Who cares?
That should not be shameful. Go.
You know what? If he can keep up with me, he's good. I'm very proud of him. But last January, he got hit by a car. And I got to tell you, it's been a very interesting road. He spent 6 months in a wheelchair. And watching him recover has been And now he's back. He's going to win one more title. He's going to turn 44 this year. But this man right here is not giving up. By the way, I love when people say, is he really yours? I'm like, yes, he's really mine. And that is what he does look like without his clothes on. It's all right, you know?
He's a very handsome guy.
Well, that's the other thing. He's very cute. I said I want it, you know? But
Yeah.
I made this, I know but not only that, what I love about him is how deeply he loves. And he's changed my life, and he's allowed me to have pictures like this. I just look how I'm looking at him.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the best thing that ever happened to me in my entire life. So I will tell you.
Love it. Love is in the air. Love is in the air.
Yeah.
Last question for the interview. Tell me about Clubhouse and dissect it in 3 sentences.
There's finally a social media platform that you can't lie on. There's no Photoshop for Clubhouse. There are people of every walk of life doing everything, and you can walk into any room that you want and learn, participate. I've walked into some amazing rooms. From finance to Bitcoin to fashion to music. But it is also a way for people to interact. Now, here's one of the problems of being a celebrity. Hard to get to them. Hard to get to me. And sometimes they need to be gotten to. Like there's a couple of my friends I can't get to. My Facebook had gotten hacked and I've lost some of my connections, right? The other day, I'm in a room. I started a room. I often start spontaneous rooms, and 500 people will show up, which is kind of cool. I love how they've done the whole pinging thing. Patrick Starr, he's a pretty big YouTube star, right?
Sure.
He's got 4.4 million followers, 300 million views. I'm a fan of his. He's a makeup artist, right? He's the second person to pop into my room. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. He says, Forbes, I got something to tell you. I said, what? He says, I owe you and I want you to know it. I said, excuse me? He said, 15 years ago, I was a little Filipino boy sitting in the front row of a speech wearing high heels, and you were talking about pitch. Because that's what I teach, my friend, right now, Peter. I teach pitching. I teach every Sunday. I do a 2-hour class. I do want you to make no mention of that. And he said, you were the first one up, and I not only heard your speech, but I hear your voice in my head all the time. I've heard it for 15 years. Every time I go to do something, I think, what would she do? I'm like, really? He said, you have no idea the impact that you had on me, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Wow. Powerful stuff. Where can people take that class? Tell us a little bit more about that pitching.
So guys, it's Pitch Secrets Masterclass. It's on Sundays. Every Sunday at 5 o'clock since the pandemic hit, I do a 2-hour training, and I pour into people through Zoom, and I'll change your life because you don't understand. I know you don't. I've met you. I've met hundreds of thousands of yous who, when I ask what it means to pitch, it's not about selling. I have a very unique way of talking about pitching. This whole time that Peter and I have been talking, I've been pitching you. You know what I want? Pitching you to fall in love with me, pitching you to follow me on social media, pitching you that you make your life better. Because pitching is about enrolling, engaging, and up-leveling people. It's not about selling. Now, the other thing that you want to do is you do want to get a yes. You want to see how fast you can get a yes? Peter, ask me what I do.
What do you do?
And this is the big problem on Clubhouse. I could say I've grossed $2.5 billion. I could say I'm an infomercial host. I've done movies. None of that makes any difference to you. Ask me again.
What do you do, Forbes?
Well, I'll tell you what, Peter, I created the greatest fitness product on the planet. Do you want to see it?
Absolutely.
I got a yes. We're good to go. I teach people to get a yes. Your life will change. Your life will change.
I love it. Please make sure you follow Forbes Riley. May the force be with you. Thank you.
Mwah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peter.